Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to tackle flexible furlough. Now the furlough scheme itself has been something as accountants and business advisors we've had to learn on our feet along with you guys. The scheme itself was announced and distributed in record-breaking time. The scheme itself was introduced in record time. So we're still working with HMRC to understand exactly how that can affect our clients and trying to make sure our clients are getting the most out of it. In this video, we're going to talk through the recent changes, and also we're going to make sure that you're fully up to date so you can make sure that you're getting the most out of the flexible furlough scheme. So what is the job retention scheme? The job retention scheme was designed to give employers an option to maintain and keep their employees through hardship and through all the difficulty that we've had within COVID-19. Now, when the scheme was first announced, it was backdated all the way back to the 1st of March. And the idea is that the government will cover 80% of a salary up to that $2,500. Employers then had a decision. Do they keep their employees on and either pay them at 80%, because that's how much they're going to get from the government, or do they continue paying them at the 100% and then they top up the rest by themselves? And employers will find this tricky, but at the end of the day, it was designed to maintain as many jobs as we possibly could. But the scheme couldn't go on forever. There had to be a point where the scheme had to start coming back and had to be reduced so that we can then start coming back to as much normality as we possibly can. To ease that, what the government decided to do was introduce a secondary element to the furlough scheme, and they'll call that flexible furlough. So the idea that whereas before you had to choose if your employee was furloughed or not furloughed, now you'll have the opportunity to bring them in at a staged response. So maybe you're only going to bring them on a part-time basis, but then you're going to carry on treating them as furloughed on the other time as well. And that means as an employer, you get to bring that opportunity in, you get to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. When you are furloughing your staff, you're only allowed to include certain elements: wages, past, overtime, fees, compulsory commission payments, employers' NI and employers' pension contributions can all go into the pool for claiming under furlough. But it does not include any bonuses, commissions, non-cash payments, or if you are topping up past that 80%. From 29th of May though, we were announced all these other extensions. So first and foremost, the most important news was the fact the scheme itself was being extended by a further 4 months. The cost and the amount that you were going to get back from the government was starting to reduce. So as an employer, it was going to become more expensive for you to keep someone on furlough. The employees though themselves will still be paid the 80%, and it was the employers who had to start getting the cost of it. So the key changes to note, the bits that are important. From the 1st of July, the scheme remained as before, but what was new was flexible furlough was included, just here. After that, the scheme itself started to become more costly to the employer. So suddenly, from August, you weren't allowed to claim NI and pension. From the 1st of September, you were only allowed to claim 70%, and 1st of October, you were only allowed to claim 60%. And then from the 31st of October, the scheme will end at that point. But the important thing to note is that flexible furlough option. That gives you, the employer, the opportunity to bring your employee back as and when you need them. Because we're all going to go through difficult times now. We're all going to have to try and bring our businesses back up in a post-COVID world. So that means we may have to work at reduced capacity. That may mean that we only can have so many people in our building at any one time. And if that's the case, you're then going to make the decision as to when you bring those employees back. Flexible furlough is exactly what it says on the tin. It gives you the flexibility to offer furlough status, but make sure that you've got yourself covered in terms of making sure you're eligible and making sure that you can show a case when and where you can actually claim for furlough. ACAS gives you a great resource in terms of what letters you should be producing, including the flexible furlough agreement letter. The letter itself gives an indication of what sort of information and what sort of communication you need to start providing your employees to be making sure that you are setting this bar and setting all the right criteria so you can claim flexible furlough. First of all, you need to have that communication. You need to let your employees know. Remember that being placed on furlough in the first place was effectively telling your employee that their job's at risk. So you need to make sure that that status itself hasn't exactly changed. It's just that you're utilising the flexible element to try and integrate their work back into the business. It's important to let them know that you're claiming, it's basically important to let them know that you are doing what's entitled by HMRC. So you are doing what HMRC are asking you to do. Now, as with the previous furlough agreements, you will still be employed by the individual in the business and will be able to use the government's coronavirus job retention scheme. The flexible furlough, though, brings in this option to use casual working hours. So your usual working hours, which are being calculated in accordance with government guideline, gives you the opportunity to split them up. And it's important from a legal aspect that you make sure you're letting them know that their initial employment contract at this point is being adjusted. So it's about letting them know that during the proposal period, during the job retention, that their current terms and conditions are being changed slightly. But it's key to let them know it's only temporary, and that's the key to all this. We don't expect this to be something that's going to be long term. We expect this to be a temporary solution to try and get your business back on feet. Setting them the guidelines that at the moment the scheme closes on the 31st October is a really good way of being able to reassure them that after that period, the likelihood is, or the hope is, that they'll be coming back to full-time employment. The ACAS letter is brilliant. But at Boffix, one thing we would highly recommend is you look over at our friends at Furlough, who have got some even more detailed information you might want to use. The importance of using that detailed information is, again, between the communication between you and your employee. So do make sure you utilise this. Do make sure that you put everything in place. And it doesn't matter how big or small your organisation is, flexible furlough can be really beneficial to you. For someone as small as a hairdresser, the ability that they can actually only bring on certain members of their staff at a time, while they're teaching them all the new PPE equipment and how to use the PPE equipment and how to interact with staff and clients in a different way, means that if you just take one or two of your employees back at a time, you can give them the resources and you can make sure you're giving them the time they need to be able to teach them all the new ways that they're going to be working. And flexible furlough also means you can figure out how your business is going to go. With the reduced hours, with the reduced amount of content and reduced amount of income that's going to be coming in, you're going to have to manage your expectations and your cash flow more than ever before. Here at Boffix, that's where we're here to help. We really do believe in having and giving clients the information at their fingertips. So using cloud technology, using the information like that, means that it's much easier when you've got up-to-date information to predict what's going to happen going forward. So my final bit of advice on this one is really consider that cash flow. Consider the impacts of bringing staff members back on your cash flow. At the end of the day, you've gone from having zero income to start trying to build up. That's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to build up your business strategically and at time. And it's going to take time to get back to where you were before. My advice, if you're using QuickBooks, is to use the brand new cash flow planner. That's what it was designed for, particular periods like this. Make sure your bank account is connected to QuickBooks, and then the cash flow planner will look at what's happened in the past and try and predict what's there in the future. If you're using Boffix to do your bookkeeping for you, it's already the information's there. You just need to have a look and see how it goes. Use those predicted events to check that these include all your expenses, and then add in planned events such as bringing back salaried staff so you can see the different scenarios affect your cash flow. And that's going to give you a leg up. That's going to let you know how much it is that you can bring in and at what stage you can start bringing your staff back. It's really tricky times now. In some ways this is more difficult because we're actually looking at things where it's a lot more unpredictable. With the new COVID world, you're going to have so many challenges coming your way. So don't let flexible furlough be one of them. Have a conversation with us at Boffix, and hopefully then we can make sure that your business goes through this in the right way. Final bit on flexible furlough is don't forget some practical tips and advice. One of those tips is going to be making sure that you record your information properly. You're going to need to provide detail of when your staff has been on furlough and is back at work. So timesheets are going to be essential for this sort of information. QuickBooks itself has the ability to have timesheets in there, but just use whatever you've got available to yourself. A diary entry, T-sheets, whatever it is, an application you've got, just to make it useful for you. Have a look at your EPOS system. A lot of your EPOS systems out there will have the ability to clock in and out for staff. Having that ability to be able to record the information is going to be crucial for you to making sure that you're getting the most out of the furlough. And don't forget to make the claims in good time as well. HMRC is starting to put small deadlines in place. So make sure you get those claims in and make sure that they're done in a timely manner. Finally, don't forget that reduction in the amount that you're going to be claiming back going forward. So put that into your mind when you're looking at calculating how much you can afford to pay and how much you can bring those staff members back. And don't forget about yourself as well. As a director of the business, you may need to take some flexible time. You may need to have that ability of not being able to work for your business, but actually take the time out to do other things. And if that's the case, you're still entitled to it as well. If you have any questions at all, don't forget to contact us at hello@boffix.com or use the information below. Finally, don't forget to like and subscribe. This channel is all about making sure that you as a business owner gets all the information you need to help you thrive and survive. Thank you for listening to this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it's dark, when it's dark. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want, if you want. I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. Oh, the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get him out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah. You know I want him, nah, 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 nah. My heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah.